And welcome, friends, to another edition of Rugged Outdoors Guide. We have a review for you today, but it's not just a regular review. This is an actual real review of something I'm touching and I'm feeling. Right? A lot of reviews online are just kind of a little bit of research and then people tell you all about it. This is real, okay? Nothing fake here. What are we talking about? This is called a Yakima long arm. The official name is a Yakima long arm bed extender, right? So the truck bed extender. And then to add confusion to that, there is a piece of steel in here, I'll explain it in a second. It's also called a long arm extender. So it's a long arm truck bed extender. All right, so what is it? All right, this is kind of a cool product. First of all, I'm going to show you what it can do. Now, what you're looking at right here is basically a roof rack. It's for the back end of your pickup truck. If your pickup truck does not have a cap, all right? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you what it can do, and this is one of its capabilities. This is the truck bed extender part. So what you would do is you drop this down, open that up, and on here you would put your kayak or your canoe, all right? Now, just want you to know, I have no reason to want to do this myself because my truck bed is going to be filled with gear when I go up north, and I don't know, I just don't like stuff sticking out this far behind the truck. But if you do, Yakima has conveniently given you one of these, right? Because it's sticking way out, and it can only stick out 4 feet before you have to use a red flag, right? So they've set you up. So the problem is, here's the big issue. When you buy the long arm extender, I'll explain a bit more about how it works in a second, but I have only, my need for it is to be a roof rack. The problem is that it only comes with this top piece, and it sits right here. I don't know if you can see, it kind of ends right here. There's a lip here because this piece right here is an addition. You have to buy it separately. It's like $100. So normally this T piece up here sits down here, and it quite literally, it's where my hand is. That's how tall it is. And you can't really use that as a roof rack now, can you? You can only use it as a truck bed extender, as I showed you, right? And not even for a really long craft either when it goes like this. So this top piece will be about here, right? Which is okay. But here's another thing I want you to see. I have tightened this up. By the way, just so you can see, this whole piece fits into your trailer hitch down there, okay? So it fits quite nicely. It's a 2-inch standard kind of hitch. So here is the problem, guys. Watch this. I'm going to put this down here, and I've done everything up as tightly as I possibly could. Everything. Trust me. Watch this. So, I mean, it's fine, but, oh, look. It kind of bounces and flops. That doesn't instill a lot of confidence in me. So, anyway, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to use it as an extender. I'm going to use it as a roof rack. So, let me just put this back here. And I'm going to do this as tight as I can, again, so I get the best tightness I can get. Okay, so before I get into any more details, I just want to explain something here. Why would you want this? And why would you not want this? Okay, so the reason you would want this, first of all, you have a pickup truck like mine. Now I've got an Avalanche, Chevy Avalanche, but if you have a pickup truck, it's the same thing. All right, the only difference is that if you look at the sides of these, the truck bed walls, you've got all kinds of stuff on top of here, right? You've got a tonneau cover, you've got these plastic moldings, and so the problem is that you don't have access to the steel that sits on top of these sidewalls in a pickup truck. A lot of pickup trucks do have it exposed. If you have exposure to the steel on the top of the railings, you can get a system that you can buy, like a rack system, that is much more sturdy than this. All right, I would suggest doing that. if you have access to the walls of your pickup truck. If you're like this, where it's kind of all like encased in molding, plastic molding, you can't really do that. So this was my only option. So it might be your only option, and so that's why you might want it. The other thing, you could use it for what I showed you about before, you know, where it's a truck bed extender and you're just going down to your local pond 2 miles from your house. You can just throw the boat back there, strap it down, and you're good. But I wouldn't do it for a long trip. That's my opinion. Okay, why wouldn't you want this? There are reasons you wouldn't want it. For example, one is, once your canoes are tied up, or your canoe tied up onto this, what happens when you want to go, oh, okay, it's not really gonna, you won't have the option, of bringing this up, obviously, if your canoes, or your canoe is tied to that. I keep saying canoes because I have it rigged for 2 canoes. So there are reasons that you may or may not want it. In my case, it was my only choice. All right, and don't forget, I just throw in here, we have a full review of this on our website, ruggedoutdoorsguide.com. All right, so you can check it out there. This is just a short version. Okay, next thing. You see these things hanging off of here. I'll show you what they're for. Yakima has explained how you can install this system and make it as sturdy as possible. Before I show you what that is, let me do the shake test again. Okay, this is done up as tightly as I possibly can. Watch this. Does that instill confidence to you? Do you want to put your $5,000 set of canoes on something that does this? Now, to be fair, a lot of this floppiness is due to the connection of the unit to the trailer hitch. But guys, it fits perfectly, and I've cranked it as tight as I can. There's a pin that goes down in here, but the pin is not just a pin, it's an actual screw. So it makes it even so you can crank it super, super tight, and that's what I've done. And it still wobbles. All right, so now, at this point, I don't want to pass too much judgment. I'm going to get into putting the canoes on, but I want to explain one final thing. All right, remember I told you this has an extender. This section right from where my hand is here to my hand here. It's about 2 feet long. It's actually 30 inches long. It goes down. This is an extender that you will absolutely need if you plan on using this as a roof rack. If you just want it as a bit of a truck bed extender, you don't necessarily need it. But I would say for 95% of us, we're going to need this extender. But like most DIY kind of guys, I said, hey, I don't need to buy that. It's just a piece of steel tubing for like $100. So I said, no, I'm not going to do it. You know what I did? I went and made my own. All right, now, this actually works pretty well. If you go to our website and see our full review, I've got a whole setup with this on it. This is my 2x2 inch softwood homemade extender. So I just saved $100 by making this. The problem is that the twisting, now I'm going to try to twist it back and forth this way, like this. There's a tiny bit of twist, but you can tell it's steel. With that homemade one, I could just twist it way more. So the lateral motion there's no support. So I thought, oh, maybe I can get just more support, more stiffness, more sturdiness with the metal extender, and honestly, it does work better. But still, you've got this. All right, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to fast forward and put a couple of canoes on top of here, and the final test is, once it's all strapped down, does it work better then? All right, just before I do that, I'm going to show you what this is all about, all right? Okay, so with the instructions that came with this extender part, also came, or with the package, came these straps. And this is what you're supposed to do with them. You pull it tight, right? And you pull this one really tight. I'm really reefing on them. Okay, now here's the funny thing. In the instructions that come with this, Yakima does not explain what these are supposed to do. They do explain how to attach them to your trailer hitch. They do not explain why you're supposed to apply them. It just says, here's what you do. So maybe they assume we're smart enough to figure out that it's a stabilizer, but I don't know how it stabilizes because it's all coming from one pivot point. So I pulled these about as hard as any normal person would pull them. Watch this. Okay, so I don't really know if it's any sturdier. Maybe it's a little bit better, but it still flops around. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean anything if it's tied down really well, and we'll see what happens once I put the canoes on, all right? So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and I'll see you in a second. All right, guys, as you see, I've got my canoes attached, all right? The only thing I don't have tidied up is the cables, you know, the strap down cable or strap. So I'll deal with that obviously before I go on a trip, but that doesn't matter for our purposes now. One of the things I need to mention before we go on is that Yakima, look, they've been kind enough to include all the wrenches you'll need for installing the arm. All right, so there's a couple of different sizes, and so they've taken care of that here. The other thing I didn't mention is that at full extension, this is 63.5 inches tall from your hitch. So that, you know, you can kind of judge whether that'll suit your purposes. It's also exactly 5 feet wide, all right, 60 inches wide. All right, with that out of the way, here's the news. With these canoes strapped down at the front and the back, as tight as I would ever do them for a trip, all right, and just strapped to the bar, and on the front I've got a Yakima crossbar as well, and I'll get into all that in another video, but this one I'm just doing a review of the Yakima long arm. Here's what it looks like, folks. Ready? So what's the verdict? The verdict is that you could do a trip like this, and I don't think you're going to find any sort of, it's not going to be dangerous or anything like that, but I don't know, there's just something, it doesn't go back and forth because you've strapped the canoes down, they're attached to the front and the back, but it just goes back and forth like this a little bit. In the wind, it might just make you a little bit nervous, but I don't think it'll fall apart and your canoe's not going to go flying. All right, so that's the good news. The bad news is that I'm not a big fan of that. I like sturdiness and rigidity. So guys, the bottom line is that it probably will do the trick for you, but here's the thing. I have another video on how to properly attach one or two. I'm going to be focusing on 2 canoes with a Yakima long arm extender, and I've got a set of Yakima racks, or one bar across the top of my cab area. All right, so check that out on our YouTube channel, and we'll also have a post on ruggedOutdoorsguide.com as well. But for now, that's what you get. All right, so you can make a decision yourself as to whether or not you think that's good enough. That's as best as I can, that's as sturdy as I can get it without additional rigging. Here's a hint, here's a hint. Okay, I have means and ways that I can make this so tight that when I try to shake this, I shake the whole truck, and those don't shake. All right, that's just a sneak peek. All right, it's a trailer, a preview. All right, and until you check out that video, guys, remember, get out there and enjoy God's creation. It's there for you to enjoy, and whatever you do, keep on looking up.